All right, hi everyone. So we are going to do some practice with linear regressions, and I know it's been a little bit. So I have some quick refresher tips for you. Some buttons you hit to make sure like you want your R values turned on. Second, 0, you scroll down to diagnostic on, you hit enter, 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 however many times you have to do it, and then it should say done. That turns on your R values. Everything's in stat, so if you want to run a regression or type stuff into your table, it's in stat. You hit stat, enter, and that lets you put your data in. Stat, calc, you want to select linear regression, you need to type your L1, L2, vars, y-vars, and then you hit enter, enter, and enter. That runs the regression through the system. Right. What's going to be new is we're actually going to graph our regression. So we're going to graph the line of best fit. So some troubleshoot things really quick is you need to make sure your stat plot is on. I'll take you through and show you how to do that, but you want to make sure that stat plot is on. If it's not on, it's not going to graph your data because it doesn't realize that you want it to graph a statistics question. So it's going to try to graph like an actual line, like a linear equation, but it's not going to graph like the actual data points. The golden thing here is to hit zoom 9. That is like hey, I want you to graph my statistics problem. That's what that's designated for. So zoom 9. I would not necessarily hit graph right away. Sometimes that doesn't take you to where you want to go. If you hit zoom 9 and you see a bunch of dots, but there's no line drawn, that means you did not run your regression through, or you didn't type the vars, y-vars thing. So you need to do that again and then hit zoom 9 and you should see that line appear. And I will I'll take you through it and show you. And then there's other steps on how you can figure out what you need to figure out. You are going to get an error message most likely today. And the reason it's going to happen is because your calculator presets your window size and sometimes it doesn't set it big enough. So for example, let's say that I ask you to predict, hey, what's y when x is 100? But your calculator has your x max set to 60. 60 is not going to show you what 100 is. So you need to change your x max to like 102 or something after 100. If you hit the graph button, it will update your window then. So that's when you do need to hit graph. So there's just some things that you need to be on the lookout for. And again, we're going to go through it. All right, so we have some data here. All right, and this handout is on Canvas. I have it in front of me, so I'm going to need to bring up my calculator on my computer so I can show you what to do. All right, so now my calculator is a TI-84 Plus C Silver Edition. So the buttons I type for my linear regression may be different than yours, but overall it should be kind of consistent. So we're going to go ahead and hit Stat. We're going to need to put in all of our data from that table. So remember, scroll up to the very top, hit Clear, scroll down. That's how you clear out your table. So it looks like we have 1, we have 0, 3, 1.5, we have 2.75, 1.5, and 2. And do the same thing over here in this column. And type that data, so 78, 75, we have 90, 89, 97, 85, 81, and 80. Yeah, it's good. Everybody has a mate, so there's no ordered pairs that aren't matched up, and they're in L1 and L2. Got it. From there, I need to run my linear regression, so I'm going to hit Stat, scroll to the right, and it's option 4. And this is where it's different. So some of you may see what I see, and some of you, it may say, it may have a blank screen. It says lin reg ax plus b. All right, not a big deal, but I'll show you what to do if you need a recap. Let me finish this way. So if you have what I have, you're going to hit Enter, Enter. It's already set on L1 and L2. And we want to go down here to store our regression. Vars, y-vars, Enter, Enter. Then we hit Enter and Enter again, and there's your regression. Now, if you don't have that menu, right, you would have had something like this. And you would not see the L1, L2, or Y1. So you would see just the linear regression and then the X was base. So you're going to have to type in L1 by hitting second L1. Hit the comma button, second L2, comma, and then you want to do your vars, Y vars, enter, enter, and then enter one more time. Now you have the stuff. Right, you want to make sure your R's are again turned on. You can use the steps that I talked about in the beginning, but that needs to be on your screen. All of that needs to be on your screen if we're going to do a line of best fit. So from here to graph, it's tempting. You want to hit graph. I know that, but you don't. We hit zoom 9. There's some different features that go on behind graph and zoom 9 is the one that you want because that's the most consistent. So what you should see are all your data points from your tables, and then they drew the line of best fit for you. Right? If you ever get to a point where you don't see the line of best fit, you're going to have to go through and do your regression, stat, calc. You have to type all that information in. Right? It will not draw the line unless you've done this. Right? You also have to do the vars, Y vars, all that, and then hit calculate. And then you can go ahead, do zoom 9, and you will have that line if you ran your regression through. So you have to run it so it uses it to the graph. All right. So the next part is, once we have that, it says use the line of best fit to predict their score if they studied for 4 hours. So I want to know what Y is when X is 4. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to hit second trace. We're going to hit enter, and it asks you, what do you want X to be again? Okay, I want X to be 4, and then I hit enter. And this is very normal. I get an error message. The reason you're getting an error message is because your window size is too small. So hit enter to acknowledge the error. All right, and then we're going to click window, and look here. We typed in X equals 4, but it only spans up until 3.3. That's not big enough. So we have to change this to say maybe 5, something bigger than 4. Now we're going to hit graph. When you hit graph, it changes your window settings. It applies those new settings to the graph. That's exactly what I want to do. Now what happens when I hit second trace? Enter. And I want to know when X is 4, what Y is, and I hit enter, and notice it tells you now, because your window has been adjusted. So it looks like Y is about 98.1. So if you study 4 hours, the trend is you'll get a 98.1%. Right? So then you're going to go through and you're going to do a couple more problems. It's the exact same step every time. All right, but troubleshooting tips. You want to make sure, that your window size is adjusted. And also, if your stat plot is off, now right now mine's on, so let me turn it off and show you. That way if this happens to you, you know what it looks like. You see how I hit zoom 9, but my stat plot is off. So sometimes we have to turn that plot on. Sometimes it resets or you turned it off for something. We have to be able to turn it on and off, relatively simple. So I don't see my dots anymore. That's because it's not graphing your statistics problem. It's graphing the formula that was generated from your linear regression. We don't want to do that. I want to see the dots. So to fix it, all you do is second Y equals, and you want your plot 1 to be on. So we hit enter and enter. Now it is on. And now if I hit zoom 9, now I see my dots. All right, so stat plot on and check window size. Those are 99% of the time, those are the reasons that we're seeing a mistake. All right, so good luck to you. We'll see how it goes.